we have the gnomes in the video?
Ooh, he's cute. Again, the Chinese government has been plotting. After their schemes with the cotton ninjas were thwarted a few years back, they had to invest their money into new agents, house gnomes. They seemed like the most logical option, especially after success in training garden gnomes as spies to keep them informed about population, crop growth, and other such information. A house gnome's job is simply to create turmoil and strife by any means necessary. The Chinese hope that through the use of these minions, they can divide American households through their nefarious plans.
Christmas was closing in, and the Bergstrom house gnomes were plotting a scheme to ruin the festivities for good. They'd been searching for new allies during their stay in this house. It was a tough mission, but they were selected from the elite troops, and chaos was their specialty. Over the months, they had been thieving left socks, toilet paper, and Danny's phones, amongst other mischievous acts. They had successfully enlisted the fleas to turn the family against their only hope for salvation, their canine companion, their furry hero, Zack the dog.
He alone realized that the regular waste collectors had been replaced by agents of the Chinese government who had been dropping off countless house gnomes to the different neighborhoods in which they do business. Every Tuesday and Friday morning, Zack arose with the dawn and made a valiant effort to eradicate the spies and protect his loved ones. However, his efforts were often thwarted by the well-meaning actions of the family patriarch.
The Bergstrom family gnomes have been cooking up a dastardly plot to infest the family and use their large house as a headquarters. Their first target was the guy's area. They had slowly gathered bloodthirsty bedbugs throughout the months, and were now at the point where they're ready to cause some real damage. The bedbugs had been fed a special serum designed by the top Chinese scientists, which made them as intelligent as chimps and about as easy to work with. Once the bedbugs had made their way into the ears of their human hosts, this serum, if delivered directly to the brain, would enable the Chinese to link to the mind of said host and control them at will from their base of operations.
The gnomes waited for the infestation to become problematic, but during the weeks of waiting, they saw no sign of the serum having any effect on the human males. It turns out, the snores of David were the guy's salvation. Every night, his snores rattled the brains of the bedbugs, and they were unable to fulfill their duty of crawling down into the guy's ears or up their noses to reach the tender gray matter.
After the gnomes realized the source of the bug's dilemma, they ordered them to redouble their attacks upon David, and one night finally succeeded in driving him out of the guy's area in search of a more peaceful resting place. The six-legged fiends did a dance of glee as the evil gnomes looked on with approval at the proceedings. Now that their unknowing protector was absent, the defenseless guys were the victims of a blood-sucking rampage, which distracted them from their mission. As the guys were whimpering in their beds, suddenly sunlight began creeping through the windows, illuminating the garish scene. With the sunlight came the sound of Taylor's alarm, and 10 minutes later he arose, much to the dismay of the little vampires who were forced to save their evil plot for another day.
At this exact moment, the imposter trash collectors came barreling down the road towards the Bergstrom house, fully believing that the serum had kicked in, and that by now the male occupants of the house would become their mindless minions. Zack, who had somehow escaped being locked up, was just returning to the house after a long night of partying with his canine pals. However, as he neared the house, he noticed that the trash collectors were pulled over and were now creeping towards the house with looks of pure evil on their ugly mugs. He raced towards them, his only thought being to loyally defend his family, even if it required him to sacrifice his life. With one mighty leap, he cut off the intruders and faced them down with all the ferocity of a mother bear protecting her cubs. As he bared his teeth at them, he realized that any loud barking at this hour would bring his master out of the house and possibly into harm's way. Not wanting to risk the safety of his master, he did something far braver. Gazing up at the villains, he gathered all the cuteness he could muster and all the love for his family within his little furry body, and used his best big brown puppy eyes to wordlessly beg them not to harm his family.
The world seemed to slow down and hold its breath as a single shining tear ran down his furry face and hit the ground. It was that tear that reached deep down into the tiniest speck of goodness left within the agents' black hearts. In that moment, their icy hearts of stone began melting, and they looked at each other only to realize that they too had tears running down from their eyes. And suddenly, they remembered all the happy moments spent with their families and realized what kind of evil they were about to commit by carrying out their assignment. They sheepishly shrugged their shoulders, and after giving Zach a good stomach rub, decided to head back to China to visit their families. Before they left, they pronounced this blessing on the family. May harmony be within this home, and may their bowls always be filled with rice. Which sounds a little like Hashi Shao Shi, Jia He Sisi De Huan Zong Shi, Shomahi Dami.
Because of Zach's selfless actions and unceasing love, the Bergströms were able to continue life normally without a clue as how close they had come to certain disaster. After the Chinese agents left, the gnome operation began to fall apart, and the bedbugs went rogue, making them much easier to eliminate. Also, they were no longer under the control of the serum, and consequently were as dumb as dodo birds. That very night, the gnome was left under the cover of darkness for fear of punishment by the long arm of the law. A few days later, half of Conroe's population suddenly realized their left socks were missing, and the gnomes settled into their new lives, living to create chaos for their own amusement, rather than for world domination by the communists.
So you can rest easy tonight, dear listeners, knowing that you have a furry protector who will always keep bad guys at bay, only requiring the occasional animal cracker as a reward. We leave you with these fond wishes.
Sleep tight,
And don't let the
bedbugs
bedbugs
bite.
bite.